Hi, I'm a Korean migrant living in overseas. I'm going to introduce petitions submitted by worldwide compatriot leaders to the International Amnesty. We overseas Korean migrants are ordinary citizens working diligently to contribute to our adopted countries with great appreciation. We are politically neutral, but with that our motherland would take right direction by upholding a free democracy. Since Moon Jae-in government usurped power after illegal and hasty impeachment in 2017, we have begun to express our grave concerns about political direction taken by the Moon government and political situation in South Korea. We feel very alarmed and aggrieved by the recently sudden and mysterious suicide committed by Park Won-soon, Seoul City Mayor. This time, we would like to draw your attention to the issues with human rights abuse and suppression of the press and religion under Moon government. Therefore, our compatriot leaders fervently plead that the Amnesty International immediately intervenes in and investigates the following four issues given the above nature of South Korea government and the situation under which the country is. Number 1. Human rights violation associated with invalid impeachment. In March 2017, after impeachment, President Park Geun-hye was sentenced to 33 years in jail for illegal bribery and collusion, despite the fact that she didn't receive any penny. While she has already been incarcerated for 3 years, it turns out that the PC tablet, which was the main cause of her impeachment, was a fiction. In this process, the Moon government is oppressing human rights in various forms to her and her aides. She and Lee Myung-park, another former president, are in poor health and need treatment as soon as possible. The ample evidence has revealed that much more serious political scandals and corruption cases such as sexual assault, deceit, collusion, frauds, illegal fund laundries are being reported under Moon government. Therefore, we hope the International Human Rights Commission will immediately investigate this human rights violation and cooperate with our effort to release them. Number 2. Prosecution of North Korean defectors. President Moon Jae-in, who used to be a so-called human rights lawyer, has shown extreme double standards in brutal human rights abuse against North Korean refugees on several occasions, including returning 2 defectors back to North Korea without proper investigation. On 31 May 2020, Park Sang-hak, a North Korean defector representing the Free North Korean Movement Federation, has sent hundreds of thousands of flyers to North Korea in an attempt to liberate them. His service and sacrifice have been provided to North Korean fellows as usual. While depicting and attacking these practices this time, Kim Yo-jung, the Sisters of North Korea Chairs of State Council, furiously condemned South Korea government in vulgar language. In an attempt to appease her anger, the Ministry of Unification and other key officers have threatened criminal charges against Park Sang-hak for the violation of Inter-Korean Exchange and Cooperation Act. Prosecution of the defectors has culminated in enacting a new law that allows police to indict those who attempt to spread flyers. This is a clear sign of suppressing North Korea defectors' freedom of expression and oppressing human rights. Amid this political turmoil, An alarming incident happened on 16th of June in that North Korea blew up the Inter-Korea Joint Office in Kaesong Industrial Complex, which had been built with a huge amount of South Korea taxpayers' money. The US government and the international community regard North Korea's impudent and brazen behavior as a serious provocation. Overseas Koreans therefore ask Amnesty International to cooperate closely to liberate North Korea people who are in the state of the most severe human rights persecution. Number 3. Oppression of Christian religion. There is now widespread Christian oppression happening in South Korea. Late last year, in 2019, the largest and longest-term civil revolution in the world took place in Seoul on several occasions, led by Pastor Jung Kang-hoon. However, due to the Moon regime's tight control over mass media, it was impossible to spread such historical news abroad. Prior to April 15 parliamentary election in 2020, a large-scale anti-government rally was planned by him, but the Moon regime then illegally imprisoned Pastor Jung for violating election law. Even more alarming, on the 5th and 22nd of June 2020, the police sent 400 laborers twice to forcefully dismantle the pastoral church that was under rebuilding process by the union. During the chaotic confrontation scuffles, many church members were injured and hospitalized. Apart from this, social distance restrictions during coronavirus pandemic have been unfairly applied to targeting Christian churches on many occasions. The various forms of oppressions are a preposterous attempt to annihilate Christianity and take away religious freedom. Number 4. The suppression of the freedom of press and expressions. Currently in South Korea, biased and fabricated reports are common events, and no mass media reports major anti-government protests. For example, on August 15, September 12, October 3 in 2019, approximately 10 million citizens in total gathered at the CBD in Seoul and held a large-scale demonstration. But the event was reported with huge distortion in the broadcast, in that August 15 rally gathered about 3,000 people only. At the National Assembly election held on April 15, 2020, the Moon government allowed the Chinese Communist Party to interfere with the election, which resulted in the most extensively rigged election in Korean and world history. Many young people and free citizens are thus demonstrating on the street, asking for the clarification of allegation of fraud, but they kept silent about this movement. Moreover, the government has blasted some right-wing YouTubes on the pretext of cracking down on false news. This is a telltale sign of pressing down on press. The United States and international community are strongly encouraged to support and participate in our protests to maintain freedom of assembly and speech in our home countries. In the reality of the above four serious and urgent violations of human rights and freedom, we are sincerely pleading for the Amnesty International to actively cooperate with our effort to sustain freedom and human rights in South Korea. Thank you for listening to our plea patiently.